But when he left and I came home, I was like, yes. And then I sat down and I was like, wish I was dating or something or had somebody to call. I didn't have anybody to call and say, you want to go eat, you know, or what you doing? You know what I'm saying? I didn't have anyone to do that with, and I realized we're going to have to change a few things.
Welcome back to Candid Convos with Nurse E. I am Nurse E, if you're not familiar with me, and I am here with a very special guest. All of my guests are very special to me, but this one right here might be super special. This is my sister Nichole, and she has graced the presence of Candid Convos to just discuss like what a routine looks like as an empty nester. Okay, she's going to drop a lot of gems, you guys. I really appreciate her coming, and I just want to brag on her a little bit.
Okay.
She is my, I don't want to say older sister.
That's
I would
fine.
say my seasoned sister.
I know that's right.
Yes.
Vintage classic.
Yeah,
How about
all
that?
all that. And she is just a wonderful, kind soul who has always been a blessing to me and my younger siblings in every way imaginable that you can think of. And so I am just so happy that the Lord chose her to be my older sister, and we've had some wonderful experiences in life. And I'm not going to go on and on and on and on because y'all know I can talk. I'm going to give her an opportunity to brag on herself before we jump into our candid conversation.
It is not much to brag about, but
All my guests say the same thing. I'm going to have to teach y'all how to talk about yourselves.
you know, I don't think it's about not being able to talk about yourself, but I think it's when you are on your journey, right? You are, and when I say you, I'm speaking specifically about myself,
Right.
okay? You are about what you wasn't to what you're becoming now. So as you said, I'm trying to move more in love,
Right.
A little bit more in tenderness,
Right.
But people always tell me, you're already that, you know, but from my perspective, I know that I can be better.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah.
And who doesn't want to be better?
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. I've always asked God to allow me to have a tender heart, to never allow my heart to harden, because I've seen it when it did harden and it was not pretty, you know.
Right.
So how could I say that I was a child of God when they wasn't seeing me move in love?
Yeah.
Because that is how they know us. That is the difference
Right.
of
That's what
who
sets
we
us
are,
apart.
right? So that is very important to me. You know what I mean? And the other part that, you know, you say brag, right? But
Boast.
yes,
all
of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Confidence,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is I try to meet people where they are so that I don't accidentally judge, because I want them to be comfortable
Of
in my
course.
space and be who they are. And then within that, the Holy Spirit will let me know what it is that I need to exemplify, right? And my nose,
Sometimes it does that, you know, at the weirdest time.
Yeah. So, you know, but thank goodness I didn't just do this
Exactly.
one.
Because we gotta get it out.
You gotta get it out. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to.
Right.
So, but that's what I tried to do. So if I have to boast on anything, it would be boasting on God for using me as the vessel that He needs for me to be.
Yes.
So
Boasting as a mother of my nephew.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Boasting as the oldest daughter,
Right.
But in love, you know, hoping that I walking in a manner that you all appreciate, you know,
or admire.
thank you.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that's what I want to be. Not like a role model, but just a safe space where you can come and just know this mirror is going to reflect to me what it is that I need to be doing or that I should be doing, or who's not going to make fun of me, you know what I mean? Because I'm not doing whatever it is that I'm supposed to do. And a mirror who's going to be able to identify and say, been there, done that. You know what I mean? And this is how the outcome can be.
Possibly, yes.
You know what I mean?
And that's the definition of a role model.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
So I humbly bragged on myself. Did I? Okay. All right. There we go.
I'm actually reading this book called Humbled. Our mother gave it to me. I don't know what she was trying to say.
She's subliminal. You know that?
I'm just messing with her.
I know.
But I'm learning that humbled has to essentially do with being obedient. That's all. It's you literally decreasing and accepting what things are and moving in that vein.
Absolutely.
That's essentially like what it is. I'm only on chapter 2.
But
remember, chapter 1.
Remember this, when you're walking and being humble and meek along, it ain't for the faint. It ain't for the faint, because it's not as easy as individuals think. You know, they will, in layman's term, kindness for weakness.
Right. Yeah.
Don't get that twisted.
Right. It's not.
You know. So.
It's not, and we have to retrain our mind.
Absolutely.
To know that it isn't, and that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. Being humble is actually strong. You know, being a part of the kingdom, it's an upside down kingdom. It doesn't look like what society is portraying.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
It can be very difficult.
Absolutely.
But I think you have done a good job in bragging on yourself.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
you. Let's move along.
Okay. Let's.
Okay. Yep. And so I wanted to talk to you about your routines. You are now an empty nester, not a full empty nester, but pretty much. You know, your son is in college.
Yes.
And
Amen.
He's actually in college where you work. So was your plan to work somewhere for him to be able to go to school, or was it kind of just, I wanted to say stumbled upon, but that's not it.
It's all of it.
It's ordered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all of it. And the reason that it is all of it is because just before COVID hit, I was already researching moving to Tampa.
Yes.
And I had already worked with someone who worked at the University of Florida, was lining up a job there, you know, and was already doing the steps where he can go to Hillsborough Community College, because we wouldn't have been there that long, so he can get his feet wet doing that, or he can work, whatever it is that he wants to be able to do, until we reach that point where he could go to Florida.
A 4-year degree, a 4-year
college. Yes. But COVID hit, right? And who knew that was going to change the trajectory. Excuse me.
It's okay.
I should have done my mouth warm-ups before I spoke. Right? Who knew that was going to change that, right? But how God moves is He allowed another university to come in, because I was at a point at that current job where it was so toxic. I had put in my letter of resignation with nothing.
Right.
But I knew that I was going to be taken care of.
Of course.
I knew I was going to be provided for. But I was just like, flay, here we go. We're going to fly. You know what I mean? Just boom, boom, boom. So I had put in my letter of resignation, did not have a job whatsoever, was driving in. And the woman's name, why is her name is getting past me? Kate. Kate called and she said, I got something for you, right? And so I said, oh, okay, you know, and she said, take a look at it and let me know what you think.
Okay.
We need to know an answer by today at, so it was 9 o'clock. We need to know an answer today by 1, what you want to do, right? So I said, okay, so you want me to pull over right now and look at it? You know?
Stop everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, do you want me to pull over? And she was like, pretty much, yes. You know, so I pulled over, looked at the job, you know, and I said, well, it doesn't meet my salary that I'm looking for, you know. And she says, yes, but I want you to look at the rest of the benefits.
Okay.
So I said, okay. And so I paused. I looked at the rest of the benefits. I said, that's wonderful, but it still doesn't meet the salary that I want.
Right.
I want you to go back and I want you to ask for that, the salary. I already told you what my low, medium, and high was. They're not even next to the low.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she said, okay. 15 minutes later, by this time I'm pulling into the garage of where I work. Okay, they'll meet it. Can you come on in for an interview? I said, ask them, do they want to see me in jeans and a t-shirt, or can they give me till tomorrow? Because I do want to look at who, the managers are and all of that other stuff. And if there's going to be people who look like me, who's going to be there? Because that's very important to me as well, right? Representation.
Right.
So she said, let me check and I'll get back to you. So I'm on the elevator, right?
Right.
Phone rings again. I'm like, girl, can I at least get to my desk real quick?
No.
But that's how God moves. You have to be ready.
You can't be pulling up your pants and putting on your shirt.
You just be like, okay, I gotta go. So she said, they'll do it tomorrow. I said, perfect, and so that gives me time to do a little bit of homework, put my questions together, but I always keep questions, but I want to be able to say that so that they know she's preparing. She's not just going to go in, blind.
Yeah.
Went home, had to do stuff for that main job. So I came in looking one way, said, oh, I got to go to the doctor's. Child, went in, changed my clothes, went downstairs, went to the interviewed with all of the people, had a great interview. They called me back the next day. He want to see you again. Came back in the next day. I said, now this time I'm really going to be for real in jeans. And if he's okay with it, we'll move with
because
it.
you're still working your other job.
Working my other job. I came in jeans and we went to lunch, just he and I, and we just talked like how you and I are doing right now.
Right.
And then he said, you want to see your office? Right. And I was like, you offering me the job? He was like, well, we got to do the background check. You know what I mean? Then I was like, uh-oh.
Girl, I had to get a background check done.
Yeah.
And something popped up.
Yeah. I had that happen.
Yeah.
So,
and I was like, what? Something from college.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I'm not even worried about that. Whatever.
I was dealing with a bad boy at the time. So I got into a little bit of, I got into a little bit of trouble, but God kept me.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And so anyway, he said, do a background check. I was like, but I was like, oh, okay, no problem. Talk to you all later.
Right. We'll get to that part where we have to,
right? So, but anyway, like I said, everything moved so quickly. So I had the interview November 1st, second interview November 3rd, you know what I mean?
Right.
Then I went back, like I said, because he wanted to have lunch with me, because it was a phone interview, then it was face-to-face interview.
Right.
And I went back. And December 6th, they offered me the job. They had done my background. They had done everything that needed to be done.
A month. Yeah.
And then January 6th, I started the job.
Right.
2020.
Right.
Before the insurrection.
Right.
So anyway, that happened, and so I put Tampa on hold. And one of the things that came out of that was Miles started acting funny. And I sat him down. I was like, what is wrong with you? He was like, you're talking about Florida and you're going to leave and you're going to leave me here. And I was like, first off, dramatic. That's not going to happen.
Right.
Let me teach you a life lesson right now. I'm home base. Wherever I am, there will always be a place for you.
Of course.
So you never have to, worry about that. But they're young. They don't know that. All they know is my mama leaving.
Right.
You know what I mean? And she gonna leave me here.
Right.
And she gonna leave me with my dad.
Right.
So anyway, I told him that, and he started to just calm.
Yeah.
He was calming down. And so then when I broke the news to him and said, hey, change your plans, because of COVID, we're in lockdown mode. Now this has come through. What you want to do?
Right.
And so he was like, well, I really did want to go to FAMU, but we'll figure it out. Right. And in my mind, I'm thinking, fam, you joke it. I put you in college preparatory programs. You didn't fill out one scholarship, didn't do nothing that you were supposed to.
And everybody want to go to FAMU. I'm like, why?
Well, okay, so he wanted to join the track team because they have an amazing
Okay.
track team. So at the time he was running track, so he was looking at what was going to work for him, you
Right.
know? And so for me, I was like, oh, Tampa, 4 hours away from there. There's a Greyhound bus. He can take the Greyhound bus if he want to come home, looking economically for
Right.
what it is that he wanted to do. But those things happen, right? So he didn't look for scholarships. But I will give you this caveat. When I learned that I was pregnant with him, and I don't know what intuition God puts inside of women, you know, but this was my prayer because I'd asked his dad, hey, you know, we're renting from your mom, you know, the home that we were in. Do you think that she would give us, let's say, a year of not paying anything? And I said, and I know that that's a stretch, but let's just see if she would do it so that we could use that money and open up a 529, put that money in there so that it could grow. And then we can just start adding, let's say, $100 or $150 a piece until Miles reaches an age. And then we can,
Right.
you know, pay for college and not have any worries
Debt.
or debt whatsoever, right? And he looked at me and said, no. And I did like this. I'm going to talk to you later. And I talked to God and I said, God, work it out. I want him to go to school. I know I'm not going to have the money because I could already see a divorce was coming. You know, like he showed it to me. Like I could see it. I saw Miles's face before he was born. So I knew it was a boy, you know, so I saw all of that. And he worked it out. Long story short.
Worked it out.
He worked it out. Far beyond what I thought. I was just thinking monetary.
Right. Yeah.
Like can you just make sure I have the money?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or if we have to borrow, it's there. You know,
Right.
the money is there.
Right.
He didn't immediately go into where I work. Right? He ended up going to community college
Okay.
and he told me, he said, I'm not ready. I don't think that I'm ready. He was not ready in his mind to leave because I was pushing, go live on campus.
Right.
You deserve it. But he thought I was, again, putting him out, but I wasn't putting him out like that. I was just putting him out because he was at the time living between both his father and I, and all he was carrying was a backpack. The poor boy, when he took the backpack off, he was still, you know, like this. I wanted him to have his own space. I wanted him to just be him, know his true likes, not, oh, if that's what you like, that's what I like, you know. I wanted him to just have that experience and to be around different people so that he could see how the world truly operates, you know what I mean? Or how, from his world and his perspective, how the world is going to be, you know, when he comes out, right, on the other end. So, again, he stayed home. He bully footed. He was dropping classes like left and right. I'm like, how you go from 4 classes to 1 class to
The luxury. The luxury.
like, you know, and I had to remember how I am is not how he is or how you are, right? So asking God to help you to rear this vessel that he's blessed you with. Right? Because they're their own person.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They are their own individual. And I wanted to make sure that as best as I could, I didn't damage him too much, you know, but I was giving him the right information that he needed and all of that. But yeah, then it would be 5 classes. Then it would be, he'd just end up with 2. And I'm just like, okay. And it was just like, he was like, my mom works for this university. I can go when I'm ready. So I had to do a little bit more research because I was going to put a fire underneath of him, right? So come to find out, you couldn't access the blessing if you were over 21. So 21 was knocking for him. Right? So that's it. You had to be accepted and enrolled before you were 21. After that, that's it.
Right.
Okay? So I had that knowledge, and I sat on it for a little bit. I got a little bit more knowledge. And so for him to transfer, one of the things I had already said was while you're at the community college, make sure you are on the track so that when you transition over to where you're going to go, your credits will go. So he understood that.
Right.
Okay. Then the major changed. It went from video.
Majors can change, you guys. It's okay. What is he, Gen X? I think he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
and we love you guys.
We do. We really do. So the major change. The major, at first it was child development, then it was film, then it went back to child development, and then it went to being a gamer, like a video, like graphics, and then it went back to child development. So in the little 12 months that he was, or so months that he was in community college, dropping classes,
right? He's trying to figure out what he wants to do.
And then coming off of COVID, now you're back in school,
with
people. So that adjustment, and everything. So it was a lot to deal with. Poor baby didn't get a prom. You know what I mean? He didn't get to do all of the fun stuff that he should have been able to do when he was in high school. So again, trying to figure all of that out. Then I learned, and I repeated it wrong, but I think it was a beautiful coinky-dink. Right. So to be a transfer student, you had to have a 2.5 GPA.
Okay.
Somehow I read 3.5.
Oh, okay.
Right. That's what I read.
Right.
Right. And I kept saying, you got to fill out your application, as he and his dad thought, well, you work there, that's automatically he can go. He has to be accepted. He has to have a 3.5 GPA. Long story short, brother man stepped up. Got accepted, had a 3.8, GPA, and I had to emphasize, you cannot drop classes. In order to continue with this blessing, you have minimum 12 hours.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum means that's it. Okay.
Nothing less.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nothing less. So he was like, I get it. I got it.
And then got the nerve. Like, sir, this is the pattern that it's been. Like, we have to emphasize this. Like, don't
play.
Yeah.
Do not play. So he, like I said, he got accepted, got his classes, and I kept reading, you cannot drop any classes. You must. So to get towards empty nest, like you asked, the build up, right? I think that God used that time that he was at the community college for both of us, to prepare the both of us.
Okay.
Emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
So I started backing away, like asking, can you take the trash out? Because I was going to have to get used to doing that.
Right.
I had to then I started helping with the animals more, you know what I mean? Because that was his domain,
right?
And I started taking care of them more because he was going to be gone. So who was going, take care of all of that?
In moving through the process of empty nesting, is there a type of grief?
Yes.
What does that look like?
It's like a detachment. It's like the invisible umbilical cord being cut, right? So even though he was in college, but he was at home, he was still at home,
right?
But then it was, when he left, deafening. I could hear all of the quietness, you know, and I mourned because he didn't need me anymore.
Well, not in the capacity in which you know.
But it's an evolving thing, but you don't know that until you're in it. You know, he didn't need me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was already setting him up for independence. You know, he already knew how to wash his own clothes at 7. You know, but so he could do those things. I knew he could take care of himself, but it wasn't like, hey mom, can you drive me? Or mom, can you pick me up? Or hey mom, how do you think I should do this? There was no more of that.
Well. Is there any way that, looking back, because you said at 7 he started washing, right? Washing his clothes. Is there any way that you could have been prepping yourself to where the morning wasn't as
intense?
Yes, while they're growing up. Because, I mean, you're raising them, you're training them, you're parenting them, you're guiding them, you're instructing them, not for them to be with you forever. So what can you do throughout those years, you know, that can start to say, hey, at some point they may go off to school or go off to the military or go off and get married, like all of these things. Looking back, what could you do to start preparing yourself, I guess, mentally and emotionally, or is it not a way?
Yes and no. I think yes and no. There is a way to do that. In my case, unfortunately, I was a single mother because I was divorced, right? And I hid behind my kid.
Wow. Pregnant pause. Yeah.
I hid behind him for safety. I used him for all of the excuses if I didn't really want to do something.
Right.
Oh, he has karate, but you knew he was karate. You know what I mean? Like people say, he's like, oh, he has swim. Oh no, he has ballroom dancing, or you know, it was whatever. Or if I got a funny feel from a guy who wanted to date me, I'd be like, oh, I got a kid, and you know, some guys are like, whatever, you know what I mean? And then, I would just like, he has activities. He has Saturday school, you know, he got Sunday school. You know?
He got school 7 days a week.
You know,
okay.
Type thing, you know. So I did. I hid behind him. I didn't go out into the world.
Right.
Because I was still also grieving my divorce.
Yeah.
Right? And I also kept a close eye on him because at one point he wanted to commit suicide. So we had to go through intense therapy, you know. So it was just a lot of things, you know. And then when I did open up to date, it started off beautiful. We got engaged, but unfortunately he has his demon that he has to deal with, and it didn't work. And then it hurt Miles.
Right.
And because they had an amazing
bond
and still have a good bond, you know, together, and it just hurt. It just hurt. It hurt to see your kid hurting, you know. So yeah, I hid behind him, and I used his upbringing as my shield for not doing
living.
Yeah.
For Nichole.
And so when the time did start to come for him to move, that's why I said I believe God gave us that time while he was in community college for me to really settle with that.
Right.
So when I was dropping him off, I cried a little bit. You know, I just said, hey, listen, you're gonna do what you're gonna do. Because
let me put some bass in my voice. You know what I'm saying?
You know. What? Okay, first my nose, now my eye, you know, okay. So maybe it's because I'm gonna cry. So I said, I know that you're gonna do what you're going to do because you're growing up, you're gonna party, you're gonna most likely probably begin to date, you know, but please remember this, remember God. Remember to take time for yourself. So join a club where you can run or lift weights or whatever so that you can keep your mind and your body, right, together,
Yeah.
right? Don't mess up like me and you see all of this, right? You see all of this, right? Because I didn't do what I was supposed to do, to take care of me.
Right.
And so he was listening, but he wasn't listening. And I said, and if you do see something happening to someone where they're being bullied, to a certain extent, speak up for them. But don't get yourself caught into something where it will impact you or hurt you in any way, because I want you to come back home. You know what I mean? But if you go out and you date, be responsible.
Right.
Get consent. Record the consent. You know what I mean? Package yourself up so that you don't get any, and I just felt like I was just trying to just drop. And he was like, Mom, you've already gone over all of this with me. You know what I mean? And he's like, you've put me in programs, for me to learn, and to learn it from males, so that we wouldn't have this moment. But he was like, he appreciated it, but still, he was also ready. You want to know what he was more concerned about?
What?
The shower.
What about it?
So I had said to him, you're not going to be able to take 4-hour showers like how you do here at home. It's 4 of you in a
quad.
Right. So he was like, no, it's just me in my room. Yeah, but you have the bathroom that separates, and then it's 2 other people. Yes. And he was like, yeah. So all of you are using that one bathroom. So I didn't know this at first, that's why he wasn't paying attention to me and why he was so agitated.
Right.
He was concerned about the bathroom.
I got to get this situated.
Yeah, and then I can deal with anything else after that. So when I picked him up from his first little break, and we just chit-chatting, he just said, Mom, he said, the bathroom thing. He was like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, because another roommate took 6-hour showers.
Okay.
So they were prepared, you know, and he was like, and one guy didn't take showers at all, you know. He said, but I got it. I figured it out, you know. And he was like, and that's why I was kind of rude to you, because I was just really just like, the shower, the shower thing. So, and then again, that's a new space for him, because he's sharing space, being my child, being my only child, right? So he had his own bathroom, everything. So that. But when he left and I came home, I was like, yes. And then I sat down and I was like, wish I was dating or something, or had somebody to call. I didn't have anybody to call and say, you want to go eat, or what you doing? You know what I'm saying? I didn't have anyone to do that with, and I realized, we're going to have to change a few things. So my pattern, my ritual, right? My regimen, after talking with you, because I would tell you how my body was feeling, and stuff like that, I started focusing more on me.
Yeah.
I went back to therapy. I started taking more hikes and using that time to talk with God. And to calm my brain down and to hear what was next for me to do. Right. Started stretching.
Yeah, that's good.
And I was like, why don't they tell you this when you younger? You got to stretch from this time until the day you die. You got to stretch.
You got to stretch.
You've got
Before you do anything, if you think about moving a couch,
stretch. You know what I mean?
If you think about cooking Thanksgiving, Christmas dinners, New Year's holiday festivities, you better stretch.
And you better lift some weights real quick. You know what I mean? Because underneath it, it's not like that anymore, but underneath it, strength was just gone.
Yeah.
And so if you take also a day or 2 off from stretching, it's like starting all the way over again, So I've learned to stick. You have to stick with it. And in sticking with it, my flexibility has started to come back. Girl, this morning I did a split.
Wow.
I was like, because that was a goal.
Yeah. You have to have
I wanted to be able to do a split again.
Yeah.
You know, because I had gone down and my body was like, you know, bam, you know. And that's it. Right. And I had to like just lean over and just fall so that I could get out of that, you know, pose. But this morning I did it. I was jumping up and down. I was like, I'm 54. 54. Yeah. You know what I mean? I kicked that leg up. I was like, yes.
Yes.
So that happened in the last 6 weeks. I've started running again.
Oh, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
I think you have to listen to your body. Your body will tell you what it's ready for, what it's not ready for, what it needs to do, what it needs to eat, just everything.
Yeah.
And also with him being gone, you asked about eating. I do like more poke bowls. I eat more raw food, right? And so when he came home, I was like, oh, how do I keep implementing what I've already been enjoying, you know? But last night we enjoyed a chicken sub sandwich, you know, so I still give myself those. And I talked to him about it. I let him know. So we spent the time. Also, I went and bought a lot of fruit, you know, because he does like fruit. So I was glad I had already implemented those things when he was younger, you know, fruit, you know, veggies. So he was fine with that. But yeah, so learning that, there have been a couple of times I went in, I cooked spaghetti, and I was like, who gonna eat all this now? He not here. You know, so I've learned how to freeze things a bit, but then also I don't like eating a lot of leftovers. So I really had to learn how to
scale back with the cooking.
How to scale back on it. Because of you, I'm now hooked to the little stories and reels on Instagram. So I'm like, ooh, that food, that look good. And then Josiah taught me how to save, you know, and then I go into the store and I was like, where do I go to the save spot so that I can find what it is that I was, you know.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I did. Okay, it took me a minute. And then sometimes what I do, because I couldn't figure out how to save, I would take all of these pictures real quick. And then when I'm in the grocery store, I go through one at a time. And I'm like, so.
Get the salt.
Right.
Okay.
Right. You know, right. Yeah. You know, so just learning that, you know.
That's why I like to go to YouTube for like recipes because, you know, they have different lengths of videos, you know what I mean? But I think it's just kind of like easier to follow along. The platform is just easier to navigate with that. Just FYI, you know, if you're looking for
I'll take that in. Getting a little learning apps, learning all of
the
the lingo, you know, like when he was home, I'd be like, what is OOO? What does that mean? And he's like, out of office. Oh, okay. You know, so just learn. He's not there for me to do that. I slept with the dog for a little bit because I had to let something bump.
The dog or you?
Anything. Let anything in the house. The house makes noise.
I'm saying this is you or the dog.
The dog just be like, girl, you lay down. You know, but I was girl with a little bat, just you know. What else? Just getting used to that, and then a couple of times I went to his door. Come on, get up, and then I'm like, he's not here.
Yeah.
You know.
I think the biggest takeaway from what you have shared is when mothering, it's still important for you to remember who you were before you were a mother.
Yes.
I think that makes, I know that it's difficult. I know that it is not easy. And I know that it can be difficult, especially if you don't have a partner. You know what I mean? Because everything is, you're responsible for it. Everything is falling on you. And so it's very difficult to navigate that when the co-parenting situation is not the best. Of course, ideally, we want to be under the same roof.
Absolutely.
But sometimes that's not the case, and you have to co-parent. And when you have to co-parent and it's not going the way that you expect, I think it's definitely easier to lose
focus and lose sight
of who you are. And then the other thing is, too, sometimes you don't know who you are before you have, you know, a child. And so we have to speak to that point as well. And I'm hoping that my mothers out there will glean from this conversation and recognize like, hey, I'm not where she is. You know, my child has not left and gone off to college, but this is happening. Yes, this is happening. It will be happening. And so taking the time, it's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's not selfish to get a hobby. What I learned, I'm in this leadership class at my church, and they discuss the hierarchy of needs. So the first need is faith, you know, and we're not going to talk about a whole bunch of faith, y'all. There's only one faith over here.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So you have faith,
Yes.
and then you have marriage. So if you're actually married and or preparing to get married, okay? Third is your household. So your household would be children, anybody that lives directly in your household.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
The fourth thing is prioritizing church. Actually being in community with people, serving at the church, that type of thing. After church, you guys, is hobbies. And how many of us can honestly say, drop it in the comments if you have a hobby?
So, if I may, so I had to go back. So that's why I said I went to therapy, because I felt a tad bit abandoned,
Right.
left, and I had to maneuver through that again, because you see it coming, but when you get into it, it's
Totally different.
It's totally different. Doesn't mean that you weren't preparing for it. It's just totally different. That's all. So my therapist was like, "What do you like, Nichole? What do you like?" And I said, "I'll catch you on that on the next session."
Can we end for today? I'm done.
I'm done. Like it made me emotional, you know,
Yeah.
because I was just like, okay, I like food. I like my little wine, you know, but what do I like? You know what? And then I looked around. I was like, well, you used to paint. So I painted the house. You know what I mean? You used to. I love to color. I didn't even know I still love to color.
Right.
I got coloring books.
You're in the mirrors.
Right? I got puzzles. Got a puzzle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know why I started out with 5,000 pieces. I should have.
100 would have been good.
20 would have been
Yes,
great. Right? Something, right? But what was fun was, I'll listen to my Audible book.
Right.
I'll try this new glass of wine. You know what I mean? And I started to put the puzzle together. I think I got 10 pieces, but I felt accomplished because I'm trying different things.
Right.
I'm starting to learn how to crochet.
Right.
Finger knit, you know?
Right.
So I'm just exploring. And what I had to remember was, you've always been that way, Nichole. You've always been a gypsy, like just moving, just trying different things and just seeing what will stick, what you really, really enjoy, you know? And so that was the fun part of just throwing it all up on the wall and just figuring it all out as I'm going along, you know? But I still kept that morning or evening regimen. One, which is today, I finished reading the Bible.
Oh, okay. The 1 year plan?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's great.
Right?
Yeah.
So today, you know, like I was so happy about that. And I put a little jar together every week. On Sunday, I would write a blessing or something wonderful that happened.
That's good.
So come January 1, I'm going to dump that jug out and I'm going to read all of the wonderful things that I've done over. You know what I mean? So I just started to just open myself up more to different things, and not the way that things used to be. This is how it's supposed to be. Like, for example, I dislike the saying, "You're a woman of a certain age." I so dislike that, right? That saying. But then it's, or you can't wear that because you're this age. Who said I can't wear it?
Right.
So learning to be comfortable with my body, learning the changes that have gone through because of menopause, you know what I'm saying? So I don't get the traditional hot flash and all of that. I get seeing things out the corner of my eye, like, who there? You know what I mean? Or the tingling in my feet or the numbness in my arm, you know. So I had to learn that. And in that, I had to learn what foods I could continue to eat, what foods I could not eat. And I also learned that through my stretching and through my long walks and running, my body doesn't deal with it as much as it did before.
Yeah.
So being an empty nester has allowed me that time to truly focus and really zero in on me.
Yep.
In a positive way.
Oh, in a positive way. In a caring way.
Yes.
In a loving way.
Yes.
A tender, loving,
in a
caring
self-care,
way. Yes.
you know, manner.
That's
right?
it. But one thing I wanted to say about the hobbies is if we incorporate hobbies early, like you said you did, there was things that you like to do. When you have, of course we want you to stick with the hobbies all the way through.
Yeah.
Just to like, hey, if it's just an hour,
Yes.
whatever it is that you love to do. But at least with you knowing before and being able, after the therapist asked you, hey, what do you like to do? You could go back and remember, hey, I used to do this and I used to do that. And so it wasn't very difficult for you to get back to that.
Which has made being alone not feel so lonely.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to feel it. It's like saying you're happy. You're not happy all day long.
Right. No.
You know what I mean? So within that, knowing those things, when he came home, this mean, when you leaving? Right. What day you go back? What day you go back to?
No shade.
You know, but it's not, and it's not in a bad sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just that I've gotten so used to
Your
being,
space.
right,
Yeah.
right.
You.
And then the other beautiful thing about it, for those that are single parents, it's okay to enjoy that space, right? And it made me go back in my mind and think, what was I rushing about being with somebody? Like, I enjoy me. Sometimes I'm watching a TV show, be like, girl, did you see that? No, and then I'm like, I am alone, you know what I mean? But now the dog has learned how to come in on the conversation and bark. I'm like, Spike, did you see that? Did you see that? You know, he's like, yeah, I saw Denzel. Yeah, I saw him. You know what I mean? So I can entertain myself.
That's good.
So it helps me to know that when it's time for my relationship, I'm okay.
Yeah. Either way.
Either way, I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, so
You have to be.
that, I think that becoming an empty nester as a single person, it has helped reinforce what I already knew. Things, you know, that, you know, people can sometimes try to shush you down and be like, put you in a box, and you're like, no, that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what I mean? But it has also taken my relationship with God to a whole nother level. When I say gratitude, when I say grace, when I say mercy, when I say joy, and when I say peace, it passes all understanding that I can't even fathom.
Right. I believe it.
I can't even fathom it.
Yeah. I believe it.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm holding one rose and God got 50 roses.
I believe it.
You know? I'm not perfect, but I do my best to stay on the path, right?
That he wants you to be on.
That he wants me to be on. Because I'm like a little stubborn little kid. Sometimes I'd be like,
we all are.
I don't want to.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I am so thankful that within that relationship, the Holy Ghost can convict me if I go too far. Sometimes he ain't even got to convict me. I can catch myself sometimes. You know what I mean? I can catch myself. But I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that, as we spoke about earlier, that I try to live my life in that manner so that my son can see how he's supposed to be.
Right.
How he needs to be, how he should be.
Yep.
You know? So that is what I'm thankful for.
Yeah. You have a lot to be thankful for, and I am thankful that you took some time
Thank you.
to come on Candid Convo and just chat about mothering.
Yes.
You know, empty nesting, what that looks like, and redefining. You know, who you are becoming, who you want to be.
And remember this and that, what you're saying about redefining. You're going to always be redefining.
Always.
Because you're never the same person who you were 60 seconds ago. It is, and you have to be open for it.
Right.
And don't judge yourself.
Right.
If it doesn't work out, it's okay.
It's okay.
Because you learn. You learn from that.
That's what we're supposed to. When something happens, we're supposed to learn. And we're supposed to share. We need to do more sharing because we don't know in our sharing that we will set someone free. So thank you again for sharing today. I know that a lot of mothers will appreciate that.
I hope so.
Empty nesters, potential
so.
empty nesters will appreciate this conversation.
I hope so.
And so as I end every Candid Convo, you were made on purpose. You have a plan and a hope that is attached to you. And so we just want to thank you so much for tuning in. I want you to go and live life on purpose. Be blessed. See you in the next episode.
Amen.